How you doing?
Daniel, Lines 24/7.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Locked on Nittany Lions.
Okay.
I guess top 10 matchup tomorrow, implications for both teams. I mean, how do you just feel from your perspective looking at this game as like your top two factors that are going to decide how tomorrow goes?
I think obviously the defense playing strong, creating some takeaways, getting some pressure on J.J. McCarthy. I think that'll be huge, but I think the key is Drew Allar. I think him being able to push the ball downfield and make some explosive plays in the passing game, down the field, I think that'll open up the offense. I think that will soften the defense for these runners to be able to take control of the game. If they run the football, physical with Michigan, play good defense, find some ways to get a takeaway, I think then they'll like where they're at, close to the end of the game, have a chance to win.
Saw that you got to spend some time with Nick and Kaytron. What's kind of your impressions of both of them as running backs?
Man, I think they have uniquely different styles, but they're both complete running backs that can run, catch. They're willing in pass protection, which is encouraging, and you don't always see that with running backs, especially young running backs. And so I think those are two NFL running backs, and I think they're the pulse of this team, they're the pulse of this offense, and they haven't been as impactful as they should be because teams are trying to make the offense one-dimensional. So I think if they can soften the defense up, get some of those guys out the box, they're running against 8, 9-man boxes. It's tough, it's difficult, right? So if the offense can make some plays in the passing game, create some big play opportunities, I think if they soften that defense up, then you watch Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen take over the game.
Kaytron's a running back with a pretty unique style. You've probably done it before, running over guys, running through guys. What does someone like him do when he's running like that? What does that do for the rest of the team, for the rest of the offense?
Like I said, it's the pulse of a team, and when you're running people over, you bring that physicality. It juices, it brings juice, it brings life to the whole team. When you see a running back make a big play and they run somebody over, they finish the run, you see the sideline go crazy. And that makes the defense play hard. That makes your offensive line play harder. That makes your receivers block harder. So I think when running backs, the value they bring to an offense, not just only productively, but from an attitude standpoint, I feel like they're the pulse, they're the heartbeat of the team.
When you look at Drew Allar, we've seen him kind of going through first-year growing pains and everything. What's kind of your impressions of where he's at going into probably the biggest game of his career?
Yeah, I think, he has all the tools. He's big arm. I think he just has to be confident in himself. I think coach staff has to put him in good position, scheme up some things where they can create some big play opportunities. But you see a player who has all the potential, has the tools to be a great quarterback. And, you go through these pains sometimes as a young player, you know what I mean? And that's what makes you, catapult you to being great down the line. And hopefully his next step to greatness is tomorrow versus Michigan, because if he plays the best game of his young career, I think Penn State will have a good opportunity to win.
How valuable is it for Penn State to have this two running back system between Kaytron and Nicholas Singleton?
I think running backs, like I said, are the pulse and, the lifeline of a team, especially a team that's physical, prides themselves on running the ball, being tough. And when you have two running backs like that, man, it's nothing but an advantage. They put them both on the field at the same time. They both block for each other. They both run hard. They both run tough. They both run physical. Both have good vision. They're complete running backs. They're NFL running backs. They're both of them will be playing on Sundays. So it's nothing but for an advantage for this team and an advantage for both of them because, they don't have so much wear and tear on themselves. Like, it might be a little frustrating sometimes because you want to get in the game, you want to get active, you want to touch the ball. But when you have two runners like that, they compete with each other. They're close. And competition breeds excellence, and that's what you're seeing with those two.
When someone like Singleton, who's the name of his game, is getting outside of the numbers, big explosive plays, and those just haven't been there this season for him for whatever reason, what do you see that Penn State could do differently, or what maybe Singleton could do differently to get back to those basics so that he can have those big home run type of plays?
You have to be able to push the ball down the field. If nobody's scared of you throwing the football, they're going to stack the box. They're going to have 8 people in the box. They're going to be rolling the safety down, 9 people in the box, and I don't care who you are. When you're running against 9-man boxes, it's tough. And, the line has to block extremely well. Everyone has to have a hat on the hat, create seams. So I think in order for the run game, I don't think it's anything Nick Singleton's been doing. I think he still has juice. You've seen a number of runs this year where you see the explosion, the vision, the power, but it just hasn't been consistent because I think the passing game is kind of, I think people are making Penn State play one-dimensional, you know what I mean? And I think if they can get out of playing one-dimensional, be effective in the passing game, down the field 20-plus yard throws, which they haven't been doing well this year, I think that'll open up their offense. I think that will soften the defense. And then you will see Kaytron Allen, you will see Nick Singleton have explosive plays, explosive runs, because it is not them. They still have the juice, they still have the power. They're still great running backs, man. They just have to it's tough on a running back when there's 8, 9-man boxes and not much space to run.
I'd actually like to flip it over to the Michigan side. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards have just as much talent. They've showcased it longer because they've been in college football for a longer period of time. But from Penn State's enemy point of view, how do you stop guys like Corum, Edwards? Are there any tendencies that Penn State's defense should be aware of when you're watching those two guys play?
I think that they're just really well coached. They work good together, down blocks. They run a lot of gap scheme, pulling players, and so you have to make sure that you're disciplined and your gap sound, because if you get out of your gap, that's when Blake Corum, he's patient, he has good vision, he hits. The matchup on the outside with Donovan Edwards, if he's in man on a linebacker or safety, they're probably going to try to exploit that matchup. They like that matchup. So when you have two unique backs like that, who know the system well and they're integrated within the system well and deployed within the system different ways, various ways, that's a challenge. Michigan has lots of they have 2 tight ends, number of receivers, and J.J. McCarthy is playing elite football, so it'll definitely be a challenge. But with Happy Valley behind them, Coach Franklin, great coach, and this defense, they're strong, man. They're built to put pressure on the quarterback, so they just got to play to their strengths. I think the offense I think Drew Allar has to have his best game of his young career, and if the defense played how they did versus Ohio State, and Drew Allar plays the best game of his young career, the playmakers on offense, the receivers are going to have to get separation, make contested catches. So it's not just on one person. The offensive line has to be able to block, give him time, so he doesn't feel pressure and he can step up and deliver throws. So it's a team game. It's an 11-man game. Everyone has to play their best, because when you have a top 3 team in the country coming to town, everyone has to play their best. And Happy Valley behind them, they have a good chance tomorrow.
How do you expect the game to unfold?
I feel like it's going to be a really close game, a tough matchup. Right now, I got 24-20 Michigan at the end of the game somehow. But I feel I have them close to at the end of the game, because if the offense plays well, if the offense creates explosive plays, they will have a chance to win the game towards the end of the game. So I'm giving them a chance to win the game if they do all those things I said.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.